to another edition of HP Gaming's GameLINK. Today we're going to be unboxing a very special game. We're going to be unboxing and having a look at Fallout by Bethesda and Fantasy Flight Games. This is a post-apocalyptic game for 1 to 4 players, and I'm very interested and excited to see what's inside the box. So let's have a bit of a look. First and foremost, if you haven't played any of the Fallout video games, you might be a little bit lost as to what's going on. If you've played the most recent one, Fallout 4, not Fallout 76 or any of those ones, you'll understand a lot of the content, because a lot of this content is based on that release, as well as the release from the other games as well. Fallout, for those of you who haven't played the games, is set in a post-apocalyptic wasteland, usually in a different part of America. Fallout 3 was one of my first forays into the world of Fallout, and obviously playing every game since that subsequent release. It's very much an RPG style. One of the game's features is the fact that you go out and journey. I like the fact with the Fallout games, you're pretty much given a base quest, but it's how you reach that objective is up to you. So it's not a simple matter of go here and do this. Along the way you'll have encounters with the denizens of the wildland, also encounter other quests as well, and there's usually a lot of stuff to get done. So the box art is got some power armor on there, which is the same as the box art for Fallout 4. It's a nice durable box. It looks like there's going to be a lot of content in the box. Lots of minis in here as well. I'm excited to see what the solo mode is like for this as well. Yeah, lots of different things to have a look at. So let's open it up and see what we've got. So first and foremost, the box. Sometimes these get tricky to open, but that was pretty straightforward. Nice and easy, which is good. My goodness, already there's a lot of things in here that I didn't expect size-wise. I'll explain that a little bit in a little moment. The Learn to Play guide. So this is a bit more of an introduction. A lot of the Fantasy Flight games have a Learn to Play in the box. It's something they've almost patented and perfected over time. A lot of their LCGs have them as well. Their living card games have a Learn to Play in the box, along with a rules reference. In fact, pretty much every game from Fantasy Flight at this point includes something like this, except for the little one-shot games like Hey That's My Fish. That's just got a rules leaflet, and obviously away you go. The Learn to Play, nice full colour, very much in the same style as the game manuals for the video game series as well, which is very cool. Lots of full colour. Lots of details on the components as well. If you haven't already checked this out, you can download that as a PDF so you can get some close-ups and understanding of all the different bits and pieces for the game. There's also references to some of the contents of the game as well, hidden little Easter eggs, I guess, as you make your way through the games, the video games that is. You can actually pick up copies of Blast Radius to sell for scrap and for extra caps as well. Usually not worth much though. We'll pop that one just down here. The rules reference, I'm guessing it's going to be very similar to other games that we've talked about. It gives you a basic overview of the setup, how it all works. There'll be a full set of appendices as well, so you can just track rules that you need at a moment's notice. And on the back you've got all the bells and whistles here, so this is all the different enemy abilities, quick reference I guess, for things as they come up during the game. Now this is what I was interested to see. It's a game made up of hex tiles, a la Catan. When I first looked at the back of the box, I was concerned that the hex tiles and the different areas of the hex tiles, because each hex tile is split up into different zones and regions, that they would be quite small to accommodate the minis and all the different tokens and everything else you have to put out. However, looking at this incredibly impressive arrangement of tokens and punch outs here, we can see that the hex tiles are actually quite large. I did not expect them to be as big as this. They're about, to put it in perspective for those of you that understand, they're about double the size of a Catan hex. So there's lots of information on them, and lots of different symbols of where things go. And it looks like 4 to 5 regions per tile, which allows for obviously quite a versatile game board experience as well. In the box we've got other components, cards and things as well. We'll get to those in a minute. First things first, let's get to the punch outs and we'll see how we go there. Now I missed something very important before when I was opening the box. Fallout excites me. I think it's a great experience. I do like the the Elder Scrolls series, but I find that the Fallout series is more my taste. I'm into the sort of sci-fi post-apocalyptic stuff more than the fantasy in some respects. However, Skyrim was still one of the best games I've ever played. Elder Scrolls 5 was pretty spectacular. What I forgot to mention before is that what we do with plastic always goes on the floor. So here we've got your currency, which is the Nuka-Cola caps. Those of you familiar with the Fallout games will know exactly what that's all about. Let's put the box over here for now and we'll break out some of these. They look like they're very, very durable. Now from memory, the different caps have different values on the back as well. They've even, oh that's awesome. They've even got the little cap rivulets like a proper bottle top. Which they could have just made them round and just had that printed as a feature, but it's actually been die cut as well, which is awesome. So these are different denominations, some are 1s, some are 5s. The blue one's obviously a bit more expensive from those. Now you've got in the corner here, these little guys, and for those of you familiar with Fallout, and you probably won't be able to see it, I'll get closer to that for you later, you will be familiar with Special, which is a measurement of your different skills and abilities. They've got little Fallout Boy tokens on the back, or Vault Boy I should say, and different letters for your Special, which make up your abilities. Let's see what we've got here. They pop out relatively easy. All the die cuts look like they're going to pop out of the cheats really easy. And then you've got what looks like double-sided tiles here. Now this one has a reference to the Crossroads camp, which is a main early on establishment you come across in Fallout 4. Spoilers, sorry, should have warned you. It also tells you about the orientation of where this tile sits on the board, and obviously all the hexes make up different parts of the game board. I believe this is a home tile because it's double-sided. Some of these other tiles that are here obviously start off like that. So you actually don't know what's under the tile until you explore that region, just like in the video games as well. What that means is you could find something that is nice and friendly. I can imagine 9 times out of 10 though you'll find something that is quite violent and nasty, super mutants and things like that. There's a monster spawning point here. A super duper mart, which in the game, if you know the games very well, is a place where there's lots of things to loot, but also lots of nasties in there as well. What else we got? More tiles, more tokens, more special icons as well in there. Then we have radiated areas. Now these ones, when you look at them, they have a green border on the back, on the front of the tile, but on the back has a big warning symbol, meaning if you go into that area, you're going to take rad damage, as in radiation damage, and ultimately take too much rad damage, you'll either mutate into something far more nasty, or you'll simply die. Which is obviously not ideal. There's different symbols on each of these for spawning points as well. And then obviously these guys, you've got the tokens. So you've got bug tokens there. There's also mutant tokens, other things that might help you with the bosses and things. Most of these guys are bad. So this guy here is a creature token, and on the back of the token is a death claw. That's something you do not want to mess with. It also has a little VATS icon for those of you familiar with the games, which will tell you with your VATS points where you could do damage, so arms, legs, body, head, that sort of stuff as well. Obviously, if you target some of those areas, you're more likely to do damage and disable or destroy the enemy. And they look like that's more of the same there, lots of other tokens. Looks like there's some encounter tokens here as well. Conditions, things like that, confused, all that sort of stuff that you can do in the main video game as well. The artwork on these tiles is pretty amazing, and it looks like actually they've included some elements from the expansions to Fallout 4 as well as some of the stuff from Fallout 3. This is Haven, one of the main cities here, and then on the back it's got Far Harbor, which I believe is in Fallout 4, but potentially in Fallout 3 as an add-on as well. I could be wrong there. Write me a comment if I'm incorrect. And the level of detail from the top-down perspective is actually quite fantastic. They've really spent a bit of time creating these worlds from the ground up. Obviously in Fallout 4 it's set in Boston and that surrounds, so having the locations pretty much as they are in game, represented from a top down almost SimCity style view, is actually really cool. As I said, the dies the card is quite thick. It's going to be very hard to damage, bend and break. It looks like it's going to last for quite a while, which means lots of replayability, particularly with the randomization of the board as well. Now here, let me just go to this one first before we get into this. Now on here there's more tokens, obviously for coin values. There's a couple of more monster tokens. There is, okay, so this one, if you're familiar with Fallout 4, you'll know what we're talking about here. The Railroad, which is a secret organisation that is up against the Initiative, and obviously the Railroad is a faction you can join or not, if you wish. It's entirely up to you how you want to play that. These tokens here represent the different factions. As you play through the game, you'll either align yourself with one or the other, or none. You can go it alone if you wish, but obviously if one of the factions overrules the other and obviously beats them into submission, the game will end and you'll score points based on where you're placed within that faction. If you're playing the game with multiple players, you all have different options as to which faction you want to align yourself with, so that could obviously cause some conflict down the track. Someone who aligns themselves with the Railroad might obviously cause a few problems if you decide to not go along with that faction. And then we've got the player boards. Now the player boards give you a wealth of information. That's something I was pretty excited about when I was looking through all the different components. The special player boards allow you, they've got little pegs on them, so you can actually list the different special skills that you have on the board to help you level up. Now, one of the features of Fallout 4 or Fallout in general, I should say, the series, is the fact that when you level up, you get what's called a perk. So not only do you level up in life and strength abilities and everything else as well, and can assign skill points to your various attributes, you can pick a perk. And the perk was always a big important part of the game, because the perk gives you another special ability that is otherwise unaffected by your skill set and your attribute points. Things like being more stealthy, having the option to, when you shoot someone through vats, literally explode their head. Some were cosmetic, others were designed to help you be better at your tasks and help you throughout the mission. So having the option for a perk system, that's what these ones are here. Conditions, specials, and obviously you've got a life versus rad meter. If for whatever reason your rads matches your HP, you're pretty much dead. So you need to make sure you manage both of those resources on your life track to avoid doing yourself a disservice. Then on this final board here, we've got, looks like some tracker markers as well. These boards double layered, so you actually get some pegs, which I'm assuming are in the box there, and you'll actually pin through the hole in the corner here and the holes here. You'll actually pop those on there like so, and then you'll use pegs. Obviously you'll have slots for all of your different special elements across there as well, so you can actually pop in and pop out your specials as they change, your different attributes, your perks here, and then you've got or perks and or conditions I should say, and then of course your life track as well. So having them, I guess you'd only need to assemble those once. I don't know why you need to unpack them and separate them, unless you're literally trying to flat pack everything back in the box again. But it's just good to note that you've got that double layer board, which I think allows for a bit more control over all the different components as well. So you take out those bits and you can literally pop in a different token. And the tokens for the special are slightly smaller, so they can come in and out of the board with relative ease. That's very cool. I like that. I will look forward to putting them all together, and then just some journey tokens and tracker markers for different faction advancements. These ones can be used also on the board to show where different characters are moving, that sort of stuff as well, which is very cool. All good stuff. The tokens and all the rest of it, I'm just going to pop there, because there are quite a few of them, as you can see. There you into the next elements now in the box. We've got cards galore because, hey, that's just what happens. Lots of cards. There's also these little mini cards here as well. So you've got normal cards with different numbers and actions on them. Then you've got little mini cards as well. We've got some extra bits in the box here too. What have we got here? What have we got here? It looks like we've got some scenarios in here as well. So these would be different scenarios to use with the board. So rather than just playing a generic game where you just set it up any way you like, these are specific scenarios, I believe, that were included with the game just to allow some playability that was similar to the events of the Fallout games themselves. So these are, yeah, there you go. So that's a setup for Far Harbor, which will give you some specific locations of where to set up different boards. And it will tell you on the back a couple of different tokens that are exclusive to this particular campaign or this particular game mode. And then you've got here the Commonwealth. This one is the Pit. So those of you who played Fallout 3, there was an expansion for the Pit, which was Pittsburgh, and obviously there was like a melting station and things in there as well. This one talks about different slaves and slayers, enemies that you can have there as well. And it looks like you've got a tracker on the side of each of the cards too. Capital Wasteland. So I think you get experience points and different options based on where the markers are placed on that tracker. And depending on how you play the game and which faction or factions you decide to align or not align with, that's going to affect the outcome of the game. And there's obviously some other special instructions there as well for each different scenario, which is very cool. That's one thing I will say about Fantasy Flight. They are dedicated to providing quality components. I can't think of a box that I've opened that has Fantasy Flight logo on it where I've been unhappy with any of the contents, and this is no exception. The card stock is nice, it's got a good snap to it. The level of detail in the cards, the readability of the cards, and the encounters, I guess, is always substantial. That's one thing as well that Fantasy Flight do really well, is flavor text. Flavor text is important because it's immersive for the story experience, and these guys, every card has something that helps with flavor text, as well as different causes and effect. If you've played Arkham Horror or any of the LCGs that have choices or repercussions, particularly Arkham Horror with the campaign mode, Lord of the Rings is another one. The resolutions, depending on where you are in the game, you have different flavor text for each different outcome. So should you succeed in one quest, you get a positive, obviously, resolution text or flavor text. Should you fail miserably, there is a totally different outcome that can set you up for a different component of play. So I could imagine that if you wanted to, you could play this game multiple times or multiple games of this, but keep some continuity as you go. I don't think it's designed for that, but it is possible. Here we've got cards galore, different cards with different faction symbols. Obviously that's a settlement icon. As you go through the game, your little nav bar, that's a city encounter. Then you've got different vault numbers as well. So these numbered cards, they have references on them as well for different things. So you may be asked to find card 115 or whatever the case may be throughout the game. I have read the rule book, but it's been a little while since I read it. But I will let you know. If I make a mistake, you'll know, because it'll come up on the screen if I've made a mistake when I do the editing for the video. Now, there's lots and lots of cards here. They just talk about different things to do with the different factions. Task 1, crack open the giant metal door in the mountains. It'll give you a skill check test, so you're special, you need to have S and E at level 4. If you pass, what happens if you pass, what happens if you fail, that sort of stuff as well. And I'll pop those cards back over there for now. The other large box of cards, or large packet of cards I should say, looks like it's a continuation of the same. So yes, that last deck finished at 72, sorry, it's 73, Vault 84. So it must depend on where you are on the board as to which cards you get to draw from. But they all have, I mean, this one here has a huge amount of flavor text, which is awesome. Then we've got more of the same. It looks like there's 2 different options, so you have 2 different choices, and obviously a skill check associated with each. Some of them have 1, some of them have 3. Some of them talk about a reaction to a monster or a different person or character or an NPC you interact with. So it gives you 3 options of how you confer with that person. So the Bethesda, both in the Elder Scrolls series and in the Fallout series, whenever you're talking to somebody, there's usually multiple options and courses of action you can take depending on your charisma, luck, all that sort of stuff as well. So these cards effectively replace that dialogue mechanic and give you the option to obviously have that conversation any way you like. But beware, obviously, there are repercussions and consequences for whichever line of dialogue or questioning you take. So you have been warned. Now, we've got here a mini deck of cards. And these, I'm not familiar with all these, so you'll have to bear with me. They're separated into quite a few decks. These look like they're special abilities or perks for different things. So this is like a strength perk. This one is for your perception, education, endurance, I should say, charisma, intelligence, and then you've got agility, and then you've got obviously luck as well. So the luck one has a black cat on it. The actual perk that comes with this is a Grim Reaper Sprint. Discard this card to become death itself. Until the end of your turn, perform 1 additional action after each fight in which you kill an enemy. So obviously the more you kill, the more you can do. Things like that, that sort of perk system was one of the real highlights for Fallout and the Fallout games. That's why people keep coming back. Now, let's see, what else have we got here in this deck of goodies. It looks like we've got different encounter cards for different folks. Card descriptions for enemies. So obviously you've got a Brotherhood Outcast. Remember little cartoon sort of Vault Boy character. A ghoul, super mutants, things like that. So these I think are identities and classes and races for you to play as well as interact with throughout the game. And then we've got different faction cards here. So these are enemy and creature cards. That's what all these little mini cards are. I think if you run out of miniatures, there's only a handful of miniatures to represent the players, these can actually be left on different areas of the board, so that you can obviously then pick up tokens, pick up equipment, that sort of stuff as well. This is a Ripper. And I don't mean a Ripper as in a great card, I mean literally a weapon called Ripper, which allows you to rip and tear and slash your way through enemies, and I dare say would do quite a bit of damage. If you roll a result that would damage arms, you may spend 1 reroll to change the die to match that result, therefore cutting off both arms instead of just one. Why would you not? Then you've got different things different equipments like a robot called Curie that will help you recover your health, things like that. This smaller deck of cards here with the symbol are faction based. It looks like it's got different things for different factions on there, and it's got cards with abilities that are affected by the advancement track of those different factions. So when a faction reaches a certain point, you can activate the card and claim its ability or claim its rewards to help you further your exploration of the Wasteland as you move forward throughout your adventure. Now, let's see, let's have a look at some tokens and dice and things here. Now these are all the pegs, 3 different elements. Oh my goodness, so much plastic. It's alright, we'll put it on the floor later. Okay, so the different pegs you've got here measure your different abilities and things. Obviously you've got red for rads, green for health, the grey I'm not too sure of, I think it might be special related, or XP related. So you can measure your experience points earned throughout the adventure. They're stock standard, there's nothing too special about them. They look simple enough. I know I said before the Fantasy Flight games have a... I know I said before that Fantasy Flight have a standard for quality components, but these feel a little bit lackluster in comparison to the rest of the box, I'm sorry to say. The tokens themselves, the little caps tokens with the little rivulets on there to make them look like actual bottle caps, is really cool, but these just feel a bit meh, nothing to write home about. Look, not a bad thing, they're functional, I guess, but I just think that they could be, a wooden peg might have been a better choice, a la original battleship. Yeah, I don't know, I just think it's a bit simple, for lack of a better term. And then these look like they're the plastic. See, these plastic components have got a nice shine on them. They're the ones that hold your board together. And I think those are of a better quality than these ones, and you're going to use these more. Once these are in, they stay in. So I don't know, maybe that's because they're designed to stay in. They're designed better. I just think, yeah, I don't know, I just think that's the way to go. Let me just grab one and I'll put it together for you. So you can see what we be talking about here. So we've got our board and our XP tracker. Let's pop out these first, because otherwise we'll have to put it back together. Don't mind me, talk amongst yourselves. We'll put these there. It looks like these get discarded, so we can chuck them over there. You have to excuse the hammering if you can hear the hammering. I'm not sure if you can. We've got some constructions happening nice and close by, but it's been a while since I uploaded a video, so I thought I'm just going to go for it. So I'm sorry if that's deafening you in the background there. It's not my intention. But I want to bring you some quality content, so I thought, well, I've got to give it a crack. So these are actually a bit more fiddly than I thought here, which is a bit annoying. They only go one way. Okay, cool. Cool. They are very fiddly, very tight. But that's okay, it means they won't come undone anytime soon, which is nice. There we go. Smushing in. There we go. Yeah, so they're definitely built to last. They're not going to come apart anytime soon. I guess if you really wanted to, you could separate them, but it's probably not ever essential. Wow, they are very tight. Very tight. I think what you're going to have to do is do like what I've done now, just literally try and squish them in a bit to give it a bit, there's a nice snap, there we go. So once they're in place, just press down on the hard surface to really lock them in. And then you're all set. So when they're stuck together, they'll look like that. And that way, obviously, you get your tokens that you can put inside for your different specials that you require. Conditions / perks. Perks obviously represent the cards, your EXP, or XP I should say, slots in. That's quite snug. It's not going to fall out. Not going to fall out. You're welcome. The ones on the bottom are still quite snug as well, so that's actually quite clever that they've made them a little bit tighter, which means they'll go in, but they're not going to fall out if you knock the board, which is highly likely when you're moving pieces around if you're at the wrong end of the table. So that I like. That is cool. I still like the idea of the layout of the board, having that in front of you to move your tokens and things, and obviously your abilities and keep track of your score effectively. I do like that a lot. It's a little bit fiddly. Once it's in there though, that's not coming apart without a fight, which I do like as well. Which is very cool. Okay, so we've got more tokens and components here we've talked about. Then we've got our, looks like VATS dice. Now these are cool. When you think about Fallout and you think about combat and you enter VATS mode, which is your virtual augmented targeting system, for those of you who don't understand what I'm talking about when I say VATS, it would zoom in on an enemy and you could actually navigate using your computer or Pip-Boy, which is a wrist computer, which enemy you want to attack, where you want to attack them. You can pinpoint shots, but you only have a certain number of VATS points to use, or action points in the games. So you would have to be very specific and strategic about where you would target, and it would only target or be successful based on your luck, endurance, agility, dexterity, all that sort of stuff. So if you more levels and more points you spend in those specific attributes, the more chance you were to blow an arm off at the shoulder if you targeted there, which was always shown in spectacular fashion. Not suitable for children, that's for sure. This is probably much more kid-friendly than the actual video games themselves. But the way they've done it for the board game is in dice form, so there is still an element of luck, but there always was in the games as well. Obviously, the more power you have, the more experience you have the option to change die results as well, but you would roll, obviously land body hits. That's actually a good roll. I do like the fact that, as I said before, they've put that little recess in there as well. That's very, very cool. And obviously the dice, they work, which is very important indeed. There's only really one other component left of this that I want to have a look at, and it's the most exciting. I got a thing for minis, what can I say? So these are the characters that you get to choose from, as well as some other super enemies and things that you can play with as well. Now it's a 1 to 4 player game, so you've got different character models that you can choose from. There is some incredible detail on these as well, which is fantastic. So if you've played a game of Fallout, you will understand that these guys here are the Brotherhood of Steel. This is a guy wearing power armor, so he may not be a member of the Brotherhood of Steel, but he is literally badass. He's got a big ass gun here. His power armor is all there. He is uber ready to do some damage, and you know that if you're in power armor, you are quite the formidable adversary. So I think it'll be very interesting to see how he travels as he goes throughout the Wasteland. Then we've got here a ghoul with a pistol. So the ghoul here is holding a gun. He looks pretty good. He's got a bow tie or necktie on. His pants are ripped. The detail on these, again, it's something about Fantasy Flight games. If they do mini sculpts, they're always usually high quality. There's no real flashes and things that need to be trimmed off these guys. They're pretty much awesome in every aspect. The clothing, the material, even the ghoul here has got like he's an irradiated person, so there's a bit of mutation there on the arms as well. It's actually detailed right down to the skin. You can see the pants that are ripped. There's flesh mottling off. The bone structure really comes through nicely as well. That's a really lovely little sculpt. And then we've got here a female Wasteland survivor. It looks like she's just someone from Megaton, just a standard ringing Megatons from Fallout 3, and still exists unless you decided to blow it up in that game, which is also highly likely. And she's got a skirt that is ripped. You can see part of her leg there. She's got a triple barrel modified shotgun, which would clearly do some serious damage, so I wouldn't want to cross her in a dark alley. She's got a bit of sass about it too with her pose, which is awesome. She's wearing a cap and she's wearing a hoodie, and she's got a little ascot on as well, a bandolier full of ammo. She ain't taking no shit. That's very cool, I like that. And then we've got a survivor, and this is effectively, I think these two guys are like the standard survivors that you create at the start of a Fallout game. This guy is just a standard dude. He's got some armor plating, he's holding a rifle, he's got a cool haircut, very military. Looks like he could be a soldier of some description, or he could just be a survivor, a vault dweller who's come to the surface to kick some ass and take some names. It looks like he's having a good time, like he's got a happy expression on his face. I don't know about that, but yeah. And then we've got our friend the super mutant here. Now this guy, sculpt on this guy is pretty outstanding, I have to say. The super mutants were quite formidable adversaries in the game. Once you hit later on, hit level 25 experience, level 30 experience, nothing is formidable anymore. You can pretty much cap things from a mile away. But these guys, obviously, it doesn't matter where you see them, you're always hesitant because they always one-hit kills. That's it, simple as that. They're very dangerous. These guys, this guy in particular though, has got a nice big sledgehammer. He's got body armor on that he's made himself. He's got a shield on his arm with nails and rivets on it to really do some damage if he swings that at you. Kick-ass boots made of rags. It looks like he's got some armor plating on his chest. And he's got an expression on his face saying, "Come at me, I'm going to kick your ass." And if I meet him on the game board, I would expect that would be the case. Knowing my luck, I'll draw a card that'll spawn a super mutant right where I am at the very start of the game, and then basically be running around for the rest of the game on no health and not be able to complete my mission. And there you have it. That's all the different components in Fallout, the board game. I'm very interested to see how this goes as a solo game. I have a lot of games at the moment, or a lot of times where it's just me. So having a solo experience of this magnitude is pretty exciting. As always, Let me know if you've played the game, let me know your thoughts as well, if you've played solo, if you've played with other players as well, how it all goes, how you found the different components. I'm always happy to answer any questions you have as well. If you haven't as well, check out the other videos we've got on our YouTube channel. We've got heaps of unboxings we've done. We've got some playthroughs with some junior GameLinks, or GameLink Junior, I should say, and there's some reviews up there as well. Also, if you've got something you'd like us to unbox, by all means shoot us a message or leave a comment in the comments below, and we'll get to it when we get a chance. Until then, folks, keep gaming, and we'll see you at the table again very, very soon. Bye for now.